So in the evening here in the monastery, we're reading from a book called Swami Turiyananda, who was a direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. And this book is written by Swami Ratajananda. And he goes on here, and in a letter that was written by Turiyananda, he gave some important insights, some actually very helpful insight for dealing with desire, for helping us to focus our minds and to find the direction that we're looking for in our life, to get control of ourselves. So he says, "It is true that one cannot give up all desires, but if the mind becomes discriminating, desires cannot exert their previous power. You read in the Yoga Vasishta, if one moves about with discrimination as one's friend, one does not fall prey to even great temptations." And that is actually true. If one maintains discrimination steady and strong, no illusion can ever overpower a man. If you constantly remember that the world is unreal, what can desire do? There is no harm in fulfilling small desires, but those which make one forget the Lord are dangerous. It does not matter that you have to live in the world. If you but keep remembrance of the Lord, desires cannot lead you astray. Constantly pray to Him. Tell Him your wishes. He will set everything right. Now this is important because this is one of those things. We get accustomed to our noisy mind, and we get accustomed to our routine desires and our cycles of pleasure that we investigate and find in the world. And here the teacher is telling us that through constant discernment, we can eliminate the power of our desires over us. You know, that inability of ourselves to say no and to look through a desire is what we need to do through discernment. Now, discernment, according to Sri Ramakrishna, he says if it's changing, it's unreal. Only that which does not change alone is real. And this takes you on a journey that can take a number of years for the insight to fully bloom and to come to seed in you. The world is unreal, that things that change are never what they seem to be because they're in a cycle of change, of birth, sustenance, and death, you know, and that's everything from the chair in your dining room to the car in your garage. You put them through the cycle of time, and they didn't begin as a car, they didn't begin as a chair, they began as a tree, and that tree didn't begin as a tree. That tree began as soil and water and sunlight, you know, and other forms of energy that come together. So you see that in this world, everything is constantly in flux. It's in a cycle of change. And that when you grab something as it is in time, that's not real. And because it's not real, it can't fulfill you in a permanent sort of way. That's why we get caught in our cycles of desire. And it's not so much that our desires ever get fulfilled and we stop running after them. What ultimately happens is we get so tired and worn out and frazzled from running after different forms of entertainment, different forms of distraction in our lives, that we exhaust ourselves in old age. And if we're unlucky, we grow bitter because we no longer have the attributes necessary to catch our desires, to lure in the fulfillment of our desires. And if one isn't careful in old age, if one's too much into the materialist idea, then bitterness sets in, anger sets in, the sense of injustice sets in. And so the Swami here is giving us some great advice for getting over that, and that is to know the world is not real. Don't depend on it for your sustenance and your happiness, for your joy and your bliss. Know that that is within. And this is the trick, you know. Maharaj, Swami Prabhupada told me one time when I told him that I couldn't think of anything that wasn't changing. So how can the unchanging alone be real if there is nothing that doesn't change? And he told me, well, did you consider what was looking for something that didn't change? Meaning that the I that has been steady through my whole life. Now, we've shared this before. But discernment is a lifelong technique that grows deeper and deeper and deeper, and whose ramifications and implications become huge toward the end. And that's why the doctor here, the Swami, is telling us, be constant in that discernment. because the world is constant in its delusion and the body is constant in its cycle of desire. So you also have to train the mind, which is your disciple. You have to train your own mind to discern and to look through the illusion and to look for that which is being symbolized by the illusion and be satisfied with nothing less than that divine love, that divine intelligence, that divine being that makes this moment the highest experience.